Hello and welcome to vlog 17. Before we get into woodworking and workshop stuff, I have some very sad news. Unfortunately, Dylan the cat, who has featured in so many of my videos on the channel over the years, is no longer with us. It's taken a while for us both to process him not being around anymore, hence the delay in announcing this, but as he was such a big part of the channel, I did want to let you know. Anyway, I've put together a short film about his life from when he was a 4-week-old kitten right up to his final days with us as a 17-year-old cat. And that video is on my second YouTube channel, and I'll leave a link to it in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. He'll never be forgotten, and thanks to everyone who has already watched that video and left kind comments. Moving on to other things, I've got lots of projects lined up at the moment. I'm going to be doing some workshop-based videos, one about tips for maintaining things, which might sound a bit boring, but actually I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff to cover. I'm also going to be adapting my main workbench and swapping out the MFT top for something else. And you can probably see behind me, I've got a lot of reclaimed timber there from a recent haul, which I'm going to be using to make that worktop. And I'm also going to be attempting to block up a window opening in my workshop by removing an old window and then doing some block laying and then rendering and pebble dashing the wall to blend in with the rest of the wall, or at least blend it in as well as I can. I really like learning new skills and trying my hand at different kinds of projects on the channel, and it keeps things interesting for me too, which I hope is also interesting for you. In other news, I want to talk a bit about fire or electrical safety after a bit of an incident recently here in the workshop. Basically what happened is that Ria and I went away for a few days. When we got back home, I went into the workshop and I was wearing headphones listening to music at the time, and I kind of walked into the workshop and felt this immense heat just hit me. Immediately I knew something was not right, and I took off my headphones and I heard that one of my dust extractors, this one behind me here, the pneumatic, was running. Now, this particular extractor is wired up to some clever box of electrical wizardry that I don't really understand, as I had it all done by a professional sparky. And my understanding is that this box has something called a relay in it, which is triggered by this remote control here, allowing me to turn it on and off while I'm at my woodworking machines. I asked my electrician friend about whether this relay thing could have been triggered by something else on the same frequency or whatever, and he said he didn't think that was possible, which means presumably I somehow left this extractor running for several days. And I don't really know how I could have done that, because I would have heard it running as I left the workshop. I always take my headphones off before I leave, just to make sure that everything is turned off basically. So it remains a bit of a mystery. When we checked our electricity smart meter, it was showing that we'd used £7.50 worth of electricity on that particular day, which is much higher than normal. Even with the rising prices, usually we use maybe between £1.50 and £2 per day, I guess. So clearly we're going to have a big bill this month. Also, because of the immense amount of heat that had been generated by the machine running in an enclosed space with no windows open or anything, the flooring that I'd laid recently in a previous video had also expanded quite a bit and kind of bubbled up slightly in the middle of the room. Now, it's been about a week since all of that happened, and since then the flooring has kind of settled back down again and everything's fine. Another thing I noticed was that for several days after turning the extractor off, there remained a kind of slight electrical kind of smell in the workshop too. But anyway, all of this got me thinking, and I wanted to ask you for your thoughts on this stuff too. Firstly, I presume that we are very lucky that we didn't have some kind of electrical fire. Secondly, I'm surprised that the extractor didn't shut itself off from overheating, because that's actually happened to me in the past when I've been running it constantly for maybe an hour or more. It's kind of shut itself off, and then eventually the motor cools down again and it's fine to use. So that makes me wonder if maybe it kept shutting itself down during those days when it was switched on and then turned itself on again each time that it cooled down, maybe? I don't know. Thirdly, and perhaps most importantly, I want to ensure that something like this can't happen again, regardless of whether this relay thing was triggered by something else, or if I really did somehow make the mistake of leaving the extractor running. So I've been thinking about ways of turning off all of the power to the workshop. I think the ideal scenario would be to have some kind of big switch by the door so that I could just shut off all of the power to the workshop when I leave. The workshop does have its own consumer unit, by the way, but it's up at ceiling height, so it's difficult for me to reach. And I can be lazy, so chances are if it's not quick and easy to do, then I'm not going to bother switching it off. Another option is just for me to turn off the power to the workshop from the consumer unit in the house. But again, I'll then have to remember to do that. Anyway, if any of you know your stuff when it comes to electrical things and can think of a way that I could have some kind of big power off switch, then please do let me know and I'll get a Sparky in to do that for me, because I really do not want this happening again. Anyway, I hope you can learn from what's happened here to me, and if it gets you thinking about similar things and maybe prevents a fire or even a large electricity bill for even one of you, then this segment was worth putting in the video. Thank you to Traderify for sponsoring this video. Traderify is an all-in-one job management application for mobile and desktop, designed especially for busy tradespeople. You can use the application to manage incoming inquiries, raise quotes and issue and track invoices, timesheets, appointments, reporting and loads more. It basically takes all of the hassle out of doing boring admin work. For a free 14-day trial, you can use the link in the description box below. And if you'd also like to get 50% off Traderify for 3 months once the trial expires, you can use the promo code RAGandBone when you sign up. Recommended viewing. The first channel I wanted to mention is called Hue and Awe, and it's a UK-based woodworking channel by a chap called Ben. And if you listen to the Workshop Banter podcast hosted by myself and Matt from Badger Workshop, then you might have already heard me raving about it there. The first videos I saw on this channel were of Ben restoring a vintage Wadkin AGS 10 table saw, and honestly the work he did to that machine to bring it up to his own very high standards of working was mind-blowing to me. Every single component, nut and bolt on that machine was cleaned up and made to look almost like it had just come out of the factory, and he gave it an incredible paint job too. And I don't know how many hours he put into it, but honestly, when you see what he did with it, it would have been all worthwhile. It's an absolutely beautiful machine. Anyway, then I delved into his woodworking project videos, and he does a lot of one-of-a-kind furniture projects that are works of art in many ways, and he's clearly a perfectionist. He throws loads of his own knowledge, experience and tips into his videos too, and I really like his style of editing. More recently, he uploaded a workshop tour too, and for me it was the best workshop tour video I've ever seen. I would highly recommend checking it out. It just had everything, great storytelling, loads of things to learn from. Anyway, I'll leave links in the description box below. The second channel is a channel called Building Ace of You. It's also based here in the UK, and it's by a chap called Aidan, and he's basically a self-builder who will turn his hands to most jobs, and he documents his property development projects in a vloggy kind of style. I checked it out and then soon found myself adding pretty much all of his videos to my watch later list. And it's another channel that I've been binge watching. I could totally relate to a lot of the things that he went through in several of his videos, where, for example, he's paid a tradesman or a project manager or a contractor to do a particular job, but then he ends up doing most of the work himself to make sure that the job is done right. And another thing that I really related to is that he's kind of a bit of a wheeler dealer. He buys most things secondhand off places like Marketplace and eBay. And recently he got some real bargains, like an Axminster table saw and planer thicknesser, which I was really jealous of, for very little money. And I look forward to seeing what he does with those machines. But yeah, really enjoyable to watch, and a really talented jack of all trades kind of mentality. And it's nice to see someone really taking pride in their work. Great channel. Again, check it out in the links below. My final recommendation for this one is a particular video rather than a channel. Most of you will be familiar with the channel already, which is I Build It by John Heiss. He designed this incredibly neat solution to making crosscuts at the table saw, but using a circular saw on a fold down track on some hinges. I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's probably one of those projects you need to see anyway. And the video doesn't have nearly the amount of views it deserves, in my opinion, when you take into consideration just how genius of an idea it really is. I was planning to do a tool talk segment in this video featuring a tool that I was really excited to show you. Some of you may have seen a glimpse of that on my Instagram, but unfortunately that had to be removed, as it turned out I wasn't meant to have been sent that particular tool. I know some of you were excited to see my thoughts on it too, and that's probably as much as I can say for now, but hopefully at some point I'll be able to actually show it to you, fingers crossed. So that's it for this one, short and sweet. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos if you'd like to help support the channel, plus get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free project plans and cut lists, and a name credit at the end of my videos. You'll find links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description box below. Thank you for watching.